What's up, everybody? This is Rob Shack. So today we're going to be doing a new little series. This goes out to BattleDude7, who gave me this idea, and it's a really good idea. I'm going to do a head-to-head comparison of two cars in the game. I'm going to do the Corvette C5R and the Dodge Viper or Chrysler Viper GTS-R Team Oreca, both from 2000, both amazing cars, and we're going to just kind of drive around both of them. I'm going to drive on complex string, drive around a little bit, and then I'm going to show an AI race where they race each other. So first off, we'll start with how they look normally. This is the C5R has 620 horsepower, and the Viper, well, the Viper, it doesn't show his power. So actually what I'm going to do really quickly is I'm just going to buy it, because I have one that's max tuned already, but I want to see what it actually, how they consider it. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share, by the way. Y'all are awesome, and thank you so much for the support. So it's got 570 untuned, so I didn't realize that that's so much worse, but it's not that bad. All right, so I will not be saving that because I want to save my money, but I was just curious. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into each of them right now, and then just drive around complex string a little bit, give my ideas of which one I like more. I haven't really compared them before, but yeah, this was a really good idea that BattleDude7 said, and I was like, man, that's a really great idea. I'm gonna totally try that and see how it goes. So this is the first time I've ever done it. So if y'all like it, if you have any suggestions, please let me know, because it just seems like a good idea to pick the course that's only in Gran Turismo 3, which is complex string, drive around on here. It's also a hilarious course, and I'll see how I do, and I'll kind of comment on how I feel like the car drives and how it handles, and we'll just kind of go through it that way. So, yeah, so I have to get used to driving it because I haven't actually driven this car in a while. But yeah, this is the Chrysler / Dodge Viper GTS-R Team Oreca. I have it, this was my one that is tuned out. It has over 1,000 horsepower. The Viper does have less power. I'm noticing that even when I max tuned it. The Viper does have a lower amount of top speed, or lower amount of horsepower, so I think that'll be playing into this a little bit, but we'll see if it can handle if it has better handling and stuff like that. But right now I'm gonna just kind of drive around. I love complex string. I think it's a really interesting course. I think it's cool that they have the license test as its own giant circuit now. I find that really interesting. But yeah, so we're just gonna kind of drive around here and see how we do. But yeah, let me know in the comments what car you like the best, because I get really intrigued by stuff like this, and as I try to stay on the road here and totally don't. But yeah, let me know in the comments what car is your favorite, because I'd be very curious to hear what y'all like. These cars are both very similar and very competitive. I realized as I looked into what BattleDude7 told me about this was there's a lot of cars in this game that basically they put two cars in the game that are essentially rivals, and they did that with a lot of cars. So that's a really good idea, and that there's gonna be a lot of videos I can do on this. So if y'all like it, yeah, please let me know. Give me a like, give me some comments here, tell me what I should do differently, because I've literally never done this before. But yeah, I think it's really a cool idea, and there really are a lot of cars that rival each other in this game. So I think that's gonna be something that I can do, and I'm hoping that it actually lets me know my time. It should know my time, let me know my time, and I'll be able to kind of compare generally how I did. I did go off the road some with the Viper just now, but I'll probably do the same thing with the Corvette, because of the fact that it's such a long course that I'm like, I'll probably end up messing up somewhere with the Corvette, and it'll average out about. So yeah, so far as I'm driving this car, I'm noticing that it's very powerful. It has a lot of, it doesn't have the handling of like a JGTC car. It definitely wants to kind of slide out, but it's a lot of fun to drive this car. It's very powerful. It does have really good handling, better handling than I thought, because usually with the Viper you're struggling to keep the car under control. But with this Team Oreca, I think it's just because it's the tuned up version. They, obviously treated it a lot better than just the road version of the Viper. And it's pretty dang fast, and it has a lot of good handling. It does slide, and you kind of have to get used to that, and I'm noticing that as I just drive around here. Very fast though. I do have it tuned for test course. That's why the 6th gear is a little bit slower, because I was going for that back then. But it's very quick, very powerful and it does have a lot of handling. It seems like it's struggling with its handling. The brakes are not as good, and I have obviously it's a race car, so the brakes are set to racing. I didn't even do that. They just have them set on there, but like, as I'm comparing this to the JGTC cars, it brakes a lot slower. As I brake late, you can't make turns and you slide almost into the gravel. So that's kind of one thing. I do think it looks better. I think the Corvette C5R is sick looking, but it just doesn't match this like classic. And this is just my opinion, you know. I played the original Gran Turismo 1 and 2, and so when you racing modify a Viper GTS in that game, it looks very much like this car. This car definitely does well jumping on these little corners. I'm noticing that. It's very, very responsive if it gets a little bit of air. It's like really, really good at staying under control. So that's something I'm gonna be very curious if the Corvette can handle that as well. This car does really well with, since it kind of slides out a little bit, you can use that to your advantage. So this seems like a car that's gonna be one of the ones where, and I'll see if the Corvette matches it. It seems like the Viper is gonna be the one that's more kind of rugged with its control, and it's going to be a little bit slower on the straightaways, but if you can handle this car, it's going to be really, really good. It seems really, really, really fast, and it really wants to slide out, but you can really use that to your advantage. I do think that, as I was saying with the Viper, this looks just like the racing modified Viper 96 in Gran Turismo 1 and 2, but this car wasn't a real thing yet, so that's just them kind of knowing what the Viper looks, how the Viper looks great. Because this car looks very good. I mean, especially the lights, you know, the way that it looked. You could totally see the OG Viper in there. It looks pretty much exactly like it, except that it just looks awesome. So, it's 91. That's the number on it. So, it's pretty sick. I think I would give this car, if I had to rate it out of 10, I would give it like a 8 out of 10, where if you drive this car right off the bat without really paying attention, you will struggle with this car because it's got it doesn't have the best handling, but once you get control of it, it's really, really fun, and you can use its weight to like to your advantage. You can definitely take corners really fast. If you kind of let it slide out just a little bit, you can actually have a lot of fun with this car. It's very fast, but yeah, these cars don't really. The Viper and the Corvette don't really compete with like the GT1, so if you're going to use this against those, you have a kind of a huge challenge there. I may honestly do an epic race on Laguna Seca with this car and see how I do against the GT1 and the R390. Seems like they would not be able to handle it super well. I need to put on some better tires because this car really wants to slide out, and Laguna Seca is a race where you can't really make any mistakes. So yeah, as I'm noticing it's definitely got the speed. It's definitely got some good power, but it doesn't seem like it's going to have as much as the Corvette just because of, you know, horsepower. It will be close, but I would assume that this car is going to be the more out of control one. It'll slide out a lot more, but it's going to be a lot of fun to drive, especially when you get the hang of it. But if you drive off the road like that, you're gonna slow down your time. So it's very powerful, very hard to control, but very fun. Hope that makes sense. And I'll eventually compare the AIs too, because there's also part of the aspect of it. So I didn't really say that at the beginning, but what I'm going to do is talk about the cars when I drive them, and then I'm going to compare the AI themselves. So there you go. As I'll end this side, we'll spin it. Yeah, so just to be specific, the Viper had 1,015 horsepower, and the Corvette C5R has 1,032. So I might have misspoken earlier when I said that the speed was not going to be a factor. I think it's barely going to be a factor. I thought that the Corvette had a little bit more power than that compared to the Viper, but we'll see now. We've done the Viper, driven around that for a little bit. Now we're going to drive around in the Corvette, see how this car does, see how this car is handling, how its speed is, everything like that. I'm noticing really quickly right off the bat that this car has way better handling. Just those first two corners, that was pretty noticeable. I didn't even expect that to be that obvious to me, but this car has way better handling. It's not even a contest, so that's an interesting little factor. And I'm actually noticing that it looks like it's actually slower, unless, I mean, I did tune it a certain way, but still, like, I didn't tune it that poorly. Like, in its fifth gear, it should be going way faster than that. So let's, as I noticed this though, for sure, it definitely feels like that time I just overbroke. But Yeah, it definitely feels like the Corvette has way better handling. It definitely actually grips the road a lot better than the Viper. It doesn't like to slide out the rear wheels the same way. It seems like it's almost like an all-wheel drive car, which I don't know how accurate that is in real life. Like, you know, someone can let me know that in the comments as well. Like, how accurate is that? But this car just seems like it's way more attached to the road, in that you, like, if you overbrake it, it's because you chose to overbrake it. With the Viper, it's like the brakes are not as good, so you slide out more, and as you turn, you slide out more too. This car seems like the brakes are way, way better, and the handling is way better. So that is very interesting to me. I actually was not expecting that. And I mean, again, please let me know your experience with these two cars. I like to see and read and comment, respond to everyone's comments in the comment section. So if you like one of these cars more than the other one, let me know, because I like to see this stuff. But I'm definitely noticing that this car has way, way, way better handling. It does look really good. I'm not actually against how it looks. I think I just like the GTS-R because of the fact that it's nostalgic, and that's like a really big thing to me. Doesn't really mean it's actually a better looking car, but I do like that the Corvette has CorvetteRacing.net on the back. That's pretty sick that they've got like that legit. It's like so legit looking, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm really noticing that though. This car is very, very responsive, very quick to turn. It doesn't slide out nearly as much. It stays under control very well, and it actually seems like it's a little bit slower. So I think that it kind of, this is the thing that I do think is actually true, and I said this with the Viper. The Viper seems like it's going to be the one that if you can get the hang of the Viper, you would have more fun and do a better lap time with the Viper. But if you're new driving these two cars, I would recommend the Corvette C5R first, because it gives you it has the handling that you need to kind of get used to driving a car like this. But then once you get used to it, try the Viper too, and then I think it'd be fun to try both. But we'll compare our lap times at the very end. I don't actually remember what I got on the Viper already, because I'm doing this live. I do all my videos live, by the way, because it's way more authentic to me. If y'all recommend me not doing that, I can learn how to record separate, all that stuff. But I just like to record my voice while I'm playing the game, because then y'all can kind of see like my thoughts as I come up raw and as they come up as I'm talking. But that's just my opinion. But you can tell me whatever you want with that. Yeah, the Corvette is very, very responsive, very handling oriented. I am very impressed with that. Let's see how it does on this little jumpy part, because the Viper actually did surprisingly well on this part, and I think it was because the Viper is a little bit more of a slide out car. Okay, wow. All right, well, the Corvette kind of sucks at this part. It lifted off it's the way that the car is weighted, I guess, and I didn't change the weight on this car. So it seems like the way the car is weighted is if you go off a jump, the front lifts off and the back stays down, and then you lose control of the car. So I would give this part to the Viper as well. That was pretty hilarious. Was not expecting that, because the Viper took off but then kind of stayed, you know, centered as it flew through the air. Well, that could have been just something with me, but I'm just going to kind of leave that in there because that was pretty funny. So it seems like I'm going to put that into my evaluation here. It seems like the way the Corvette's weighed will affect it, and that probably is why the Corvette is really grippy on the road. Maybe it's weighed a little bit more on the back, so that's how it's able to stay under control. It's a rear-wheel drive car. Viper did not do that, but the Viper also slides out like crazy on every corner. So I think if you want to try each, I would lean towards using the Viper just because of the fact that it's a little bit more of a challenge. But I think the Corvette is still a fantastic car. I'm not ruling that out at all. Not a lot of courses in this game have jumps, so I think that's going to be something that you are going to have to be super worried about. But that was pretty hilarious that I went flying through the air on that one. So yeah, in conclusion, with the Corvette, I think the Corvette has way better handling. I did the same thing twice there. That's me. That's not the Corvette. The Corvette seems like a really, really good handling car. It seems like it's really quick, and it's very responsive. It doesn't slide out nearly as much, but apparently it doesn't like jumps, but that's, again, super rare. So I think if I had to choose a car here, yeah, I think I would very slightly lean the Viper. I think the Corvette's still incredible. because it's super fast and it's super fun to drive, and it grips really well. And I think that can be something that, like, if I was to do my ultra race or whatever, the epic race with the Corvette C5R and the Viper with the against the R390, I feel like the Corvette would be easier just because it grips better, and that's what you need when you're doing Laguna Seca. So we'll try that out. I'll do that in the next couple weeks, actually. Let's try that. So what I might do is, and this will be my way of finishing up these videos, is as I completely spin it there. So both cars don't like getting clipped on the grass there. But what I'll probably do is I'll do, depending on what the car is, I'll do a race like this where I'll drive around, do the complex string, show the AI, which I'll do in a second, and then from there we will, the next couple weeks I'll do some epic races with each one, and there's the comparison of their two lap times. I'll go back and actually look at those. Can I see them? There's records. So yeah, the Viper I did a 422 and the Corvette I did a 435, but that's only because I spun out with the Corvette. So they're about, I would say that I did, the way I drive the Corvette is not as good as the way that I can drive the Viper. So I think if I had not spun out, I would have driven about a 425 with the Corvette. So that's, take that as you may. So now what I'm going to do is, let's see, I'm going to do an AI race here. I'll do Laguna Seca. Alright, after long last of me redoing this over and over and over again, we have the Viper and the Corvette in the same AI race here. We'll see how they do. This will actually be a really good race to see because they started in 4th and 3rd. Oh, sorry, 5th and 3rd, but the Lister Storm sucks. So they both immediately passed him. So now they're actually going to see, I'm going to see how they do with passing other cars here. But yeah, so y'all witnessed me driving each. Now we're going to see how the AI handled each of these two cars. This is them untuned, I'm pretty sure. So this is the Viper with 570 and the Corvette with 620. And we'll kind of get to see how the AI drive each one. Viper kind of sucked on that one turn and broke really early for some reason, and now is sucking, so that might just be the end of this, but we'll see. Corvette's up in 2nd, and then we'll see if this can stay interesting, because right now the Viper sucks and did a stupid AI moment, and that was just more of the AI's fault than anything. So we'll see. Yeah, so y'all witnessed the beginning of this video was me driving them both on complex string, obviously, and then now we're going to do the AI and see how they do 5 laps around Laguna Seca, and then at the end of this video I'm going to do a max speed test of each one and just kind of see which one is the fastest on a tune set to Gran Turismo test course. So we'll just see from there. This looks like a big dumpster fire for the Viper, so I think we might already know what we need to know here, but we'll see if the Viper can make a comeback. But I'm pretty annoyed that the Viper just like decided to brake heavily on that one stupid corner and then just got passed by everybody. So we'll see if the Viper can do anything else, but it looks like he's well behind the Corvette, and so it kind of goes along with what I said before, where the Corvette seems to have the better handling, and even though the Viper has better speed, because the Viper is a little bit more out of control, as a result he's more likely to do stupid things. But also that could just be an AI dumpster fire, because he did that same thing again. He already passed the Ray Brig, was ahead of him, and then just decided, you know what, I'm going to still brake anyway, like I'm battling him, and then he'll just pass me back. So that was kind of stupid, but we'll see. If the Viper can just pass the Ray Brig, which he should do, then we'll see if he can actually make this interesting. As I kind of suspected earlier, these are Group 2 race cars, the Corvette and the Viper, and they're a little bit faster than the Japanese Grand Touring circuit cars. And I don't really know what the Lister is. It's a British car, but I don't know what genre of car it raced against. So all I know is that all the Japanese cars are in the JGTC. I don't know what the Lister is, and then the Viper and the Corvette I think are Group 2. So yeah, I don't know. So that explains why they're better than the JGTC cars. And the Lister just is really bad. I'm not really sure why the Lister is so bad. I also missed the original Lister Storm from Gran Turismo 2, but they never brought it back. Wish they did, though. It would have been sick. So, the Viper's finally passed. I can actually, I think if I go into the cockpit view, I'll be able to see their lap times. So we can see those and compare. Oh, I'm not sure if I can. Okay, so it does show each one. Oh, that's kind of cool. Okay, so yeah, we'll be able to actually compare their lap times, the AI's lap times. So I'll just let y'all see those. The Viper was about 2 seconds behind, just over 2 seconds behind at the start of this lap, I think. So we're going to see if that stays the same, how that does. Still is about 2 seconds. It looks like the Viper is actually a little bit faster. Seems like he's gaining on him. But we'll see. Their last checkpoint will be underneath this on this corner right here after the corkscrew, bottom of this hill. I think they have the final checkpoint right here. So yeah, 107 and 105. Yeah, so the Viper seems like he's doing a much better job here. So this is kind of interesting. So as much as I was originally thinking this was going to be a dumpster fire because the Viper was getting destroyed, it looks like he's very, very much gaining on the Corvette. So that's shows that the Viper does have that speed, which when they're not as max tuned, that makes a bigger difference. Yeah, that Viper did almost a 2 second faster lap time there. So let's see if that keeps going. They're supposed to do 5 laps around this course, so I don't know why the Arta is doing so terrible compared to the Ray Rig and the Castrol Mugen. They're very similar in speed, but yeah, so this is pretty hilarious that the Viper is this much better. I was not expecting that at this range, but yeah, the Viper is gaining pretty quickly on this Corvette now, almost down to a second. He'll eventually get into his draft, and then that'll be even more of a battle here once he gets into his wind resistance there, which is I think already technically happening. Yeah, he's under a second. So Viper is gaining, so now what's going to be interesting is to see what's going to happen when they get close to each other, since the Viper doesn't have the handling, and he seems to be really bad at passing cars, considering what happened at the beginning of this race. How will he ever be able to actually pass the Corvette? That'll be the $1 million question up in here. They have 5 laps, and they've already done, what, 3? 2? So it's like he's got some time, but we'll see if this works out. So they're very close. The Mugen's just chilling, and then everyone else sucks. So, and they don't suck, I'm just kidding. But it's like, clearly the Viper and the Corvette are the ones that are going to be the best cars in this series. And it is very, very close now. Gaining tremendously. Yeah, so since they are only at their non-max speed, it's a lot harder once they... it's going to be a lot harder to get out of the draft once you get into it. But see, yeah, look at how terrible the Viper is at passing people. I attribute that to the AI and the handling of the Viper. He's not going to be as good at getting around cars. I think that's just a handling thing. And we'll see if he can actually do this thing, because he should be able to pass him. He's a lot faster than him, which I was just, again, not expecting that. But we'll see. Castrol's holding up pretty nicely, and it just seems like everybody else really struggled. Okay, he's going to try to make a pass here. Side by side to the corkscrew. This is going to be a disaster. All right, there you go. He didn't commit to it. Did not commit to it at all. I was like, that is not the place to try to pass him. I recommend on any of the final straights, not on the corkscrew. Do not try to pass a car here unless you're a human player, because you can just lunge deep and that's going to be fine. Well, we have a pass. Oh. The Corvette's pitting. Well, that's interesting. And the Mugen is very much catching up to the Viper, so that's that. I don't really know what to say about that. So we'll see if I don't remember what lap we're on, but is the Viper going to pit as well? It definitely seems like the Mugen caught up to them, so that must mean that the Viper and the Corvette just needed to pit. But now I'm going to be very curious if the Viper shouldn't have pitted. Then it's going to get really complex here. So, originally, yeah, I was going, okay, the Corvette is going to need to pit. I mean, the Corvette's the better handling car, worse speed. But now the Viper isn't pitting, and I don't know if there's only 4 laps or 5 laps. Is the Corvette just done? Did he just lose because he pitted? And that's an AI thing again. The Mugen got really close to him for a second there, and now is really far away again. So I don't really know what happened there. It felt like the Viper did a turn really badly or something. I don't know. But now he's far ahead again, and I'm very curious since there's a weird semi-rubber banding effect in this game. The Corvette's driving really, really fast now and is gaining on people really quickly. So if the Viper pits this lap, then the Corvette's going to dust him. So then it'll be... Okay, Viper did not pit. But yeah, so that's that thing where in this game the rubber banding effect isn't like super real because it affects the tire. The tire wear gets increased, but the car definitely drives faster. So I don't know. I don't think the race is over yet because they do that thing in this game where when the race is over they like coast it out, and that's not happening. I think this is the last lap. The Corvette has passed the Arda because the Arda's going really slow for some reason, and then we'll see if the Corvette can come back. I mean, he's not going to be able to pass the Viper, but the Viper tries to... I mean, I don't know. This is a weird race. This was not what I expected. I was not expecting there to be a pit factor in a 5-lap race around Laguna Seca, but apparently that's a thing. But here we go. So, Corvette is coming up on the Lister now. Passed the Arda a while ago. And then I think this might be the last lap, so we'll see. If the Viper... I mean, yeah, now the Mugen's catching up to him again. So there, I don't know. This was a weird thing. If the Corvette's tire wear is that bad, then the Corvette is kind of bad, tire wear-wise, and I was not expecting that. But, okay, now the Viper's pitting, so you got me. You got me on this one. I'm confused. The Corvette's struggling to pass the Lister Storm up in here. But the Viper's going to be in the pit. Corvette's going to fly by him. So, you got me. You got me with what's going on with this one. So, the Corvette's got to pass the Storm soon. He's taking really a long time passing this dude. The Lister's not a very good car. It's just super slow and heavy. Viper's out of the pit now. I was not expecting the Corvette to... I just didn't... This is not what I expected at all. So, I think now we're on the last lap, and now the Viper's really far behind the Corvette, so I guess the Corvette wins. But it was not in the way I expected. Corvette's now coming up on the Ray Brig. Viper's coming up on the Arda. And... yeah, that's really weird. Really strange. Mugen's gonna beat everybody. Corvette's passing the Ray Brig as we speak. Viper's passing the Arda, sort of. Yeah, the Corvette just... Okay, the Viper really does not pass well. I'm noticing that. He seems to come up on cars at the most inopportune time and then loses the battle every single time. So that's bad. I wonder if the Corvette will pit one more time. I think this is the last lap, and that's what that means he won't pit again. But we'll see. Because they're going to start slowing. They do that thing where they start slowing down. No, the Lister's pitting now. I thought this was only 5 laps, but apparently it's more than that. So, well, we'll go a couple more laps around and see what happens here. Because eventually the Corvette's going to need to pit. If it goes too long, the Corvette's going to pit again. The moment the Corvette pits again, I'm going to call it and say the Viper wins. Because that was substantial. I mean, the Corvette's going to pit basically twice before the Viper pits one more time. So, like... And he's gotten some distance on him, but not enough. I mean, the Viper's right there. You can see the Viper in the Corvette's rear view. Corvette's still catching up to the Mugen. Viper's slowly catching up to the Ray Brig. And the Lister's just garbage at this point. He's not even close. If the Corvette goes into the pit now,
he would probably end up being behind the Lister, and then I would really feel like, okay, the Corvette's not going to come back. I don't know if the NSXs will pit. They usually don't. Viper's coming up on the raid rig. Corvette did not pit there, so maybe it's just a one-time deal, and then that means the Corvette actually did do it. Here comes the Viper on the raid rig, making it pass down the straight. Got it. It laps on this, maybe it just keeps going. I don't know. Doesn't seem like they're coasting yet. Now the Viper and the Corvette are in second and third, so that's kind of interesting. The Viper is gaining on the Corvette again. But the Corvette also pitted way sooner, so the Corvette's going to need to pit again relatively soon, unless this is the actual last lap. I'm also curious if the NSXs will ever pit. I kind of doubt they will, because that's what they're really good at, is not needing to ever pit. But we'll see. I mean, yeah, the Corvette is like going super slow now. Alright, he's going into the pit again. That's ridiculous. I did not expect this. Mugen's coming through in first. Viper's now in second. Corvette's pitting. Rayberg's going to be in third. Arta's going to be in fourth. And the Lister, I think, will even pass and be in fifth. How many laps are we supposed to do on this course? I think it might be over, and I'm going to call that the Corvette. I didn't think about pitting as a situation here, but it seems like pitting matters greatly, and the Corvette, because it has better handling, it also wears its tires out faster, so there's that element as well, so that's going to be kind of interesting. So I think I would still say, with regards to handling and stuff like that, Corvette, better handling, worse tire wear, worse grip, and then Viper, worse handling, better speed, harder to control, better tire wear apparently. And yeah, that's I guess my final brief on that. And so now the next thing we're going to do is top speeds, which that I won't really talk in. You can just kind of watch that, and I'll just let their sounds play, because I've kind of been interrupting how they sound. They both sound fantastic in this game, so I'm going to let them, when I do the max speed test, I won't talk, and I'll just let that go, because that's the best. So yeah. But we'll call it right there as the Raybrick pits in randomly. I don't even know how. The Raybrick's pitting, but neither is the Arta or the. This is so hilarious. This race has been very weird. Lister is making a move on the Arta, which I wasn't expecting. Corvette's coming in, trying to pass them both at the same time. See if he can do it. Can he do a double move? This will be sick. Alright, he passed the Arta and then literally brake checked him on the end of the corner. That was kind of weird. This has been a hilarious race for sure. I was not expecting... Oh, Corvette did that stupid thing where he passes and then brakes to fail his own pass. So that's kind of hilarious. Viper is really gaining on the Castrol Mugen. So I'm assuming that the Mugen and the Arta are about to pit. The Corvette's struggling. Apparently this Lister is like elusive and people can't pass this Lister. But this is hilarious. This is a very different race than I expected. I did not expect the pitting to be an issue. I thought they would pit at about the same time, because it figured they would pit at around the same rate. Corvette's making a move on the Lister. Succeeded. Raybrick and the Arta are both still not pitting. Viper is heavily gaining on the Castrol Mugen.
Wow, the Corvette did a 122 and the Viper did a 128. So I don't know what that's all about. I think it's that pseudo rubber banding situation that's going on. The Viper has his rubber banding has ended because he's right behind the Mugen, but it's not the case with him. So he did a 22.9 right there. Yeah, he did a 22.4. So that's, I don't know. The rubber banding in this game is super weird. Every time a car comes out of the pit, they just like kill it for a while. Because like as you can see, the Viper is just flying towards the Castrol Mugen, and just made a pass. The Viper is now in the lead again. Corvette is almost within view of the Viper, very, very close. The Viper can see the Corvette can see the Mugen, but not quite see the Viper yet, but he's gaining on him. Like, you can see him now, he's right there. This is the weirdest race. I've kind of never really studied the AI like this before, and it is very weird to watch the AI handle these corners. So I'm gonna do a three-way test here between these laps. Who, like, I have to be very quick here. So the Vipers is right there, 128. The Mugen did a 131, and the Corvette did a 126. Like, what? Well, the race I think is over. Because I looked online and this cup is 5 laps around these races, so I'm confused. But hey, this has been very interesting. I hope y'all enjoyed this part. I was not expecting it to be this interesting to me. So Corvette's coming up on the Mugen as we speak. I mean, are they gonna pit at the same time? Because I wasn't thinking that would happen either. So that was a 43, and the Corvette did a 42. Corvette's trying to pass the Mugen now, but driving like an idiot. Doesn't know how to pass anybody. They try to pass on this corkscrew, which is the worst time ever to make a pass. They slow down like crazy when they do that. I don't know why they think that's a good idea. I'm also curious then if they're going to both pit at the same time. Yeah, here goes the Viper. He's definitely going into the pit now. Alright, I don't really know. Y'all can call this. I don't know who's the winner here. I don't know. So I'm going to stop it there. Now we're going to go on to the top speed test for each one, and then I'm going to call the video. So thank y'all for watching. I'm not going to talk anymore. I'll let y'all just enjoy the sounds of each car. Y'all are great, and be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Help me get to 1,000 subs.